Hey, how's it going? My name is Chris,
My name is Ian, and you're here watching Two Dudes One Up Gaming Podcast.
and
How are you doing today, Chris?
your audio is so low because of technical issues that we had no control over. Hang on.
Okay. Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Do that. There we go.
Your computer's fun.
Oh,
I love
they're great.
technology.
Computers are fantastic.
Eh, it is what it is, but we got a lot to talk about today, so let's just
Yeah.
dive right into it. Uh, got a whole bunch of games being released this upcoming week. The fallout from E3 has finally subsided, and we're back onto a pretty steady release schedule for some of the bigger summer games kind of coming up. I know tomorrow on the 26th. We've got a couple of re-release games with the Far Cry 3 Classic Edition being re-released for PS4 and Xbox One, and also the Nier Automata Become as Gods Edition is being released for Xbox One tomorrow as well. Do you have any opinion on all that?
My opinion is I'm still trying to make sure everything is working. However, I do have thoughts on the Adventures of Captain Spirit. I'm looking forward to playing some of that. Just getting some of that more adventure game action going on. Life is Strange was a fantastic series to play. It was really good, and so this game, being by the same creators, I'm really looking forward to it. It takes place in the same universe. I guess it's supposed to be a really short kind of thing that just sort of ties Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 together, so I'm interested to see how it goes. I'm also interested to see in what they are trying to be paid with, considering that it's being released for free. So hopefully they don't want too much of my personal information.
Yeah, so I mean, it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm gonna dive into it. If you haven't played Life is Strange, I believe it may be on sale right now in the Steam Summer sale, so you can get it pretty cheap. It's a 5-episode game, and then this is just gonna be kind of an offshoot from that. Also being released tomorrow is the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. It's coming out for the Xbox One, the PC, and the Switch. So that's gonna be it's the new. I don't say new, but it's the Crash Bandicoot series. It's been kind of revamped with new graphics and cleaned up to make it look a lot cleaner for the newer consoles.
Yeah.
And it's the first 3 games of the Crash Bandicoot series. It's Crash Bandicoot, Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back, and Crash Bandicoot Warped. So you know, as of tomorrow. Go to words. Go stop Dr. Neocortex from taking over the world. I planned that out way better in my head.
We still understood what you meant. It was completely fine. Oh man.
Also on the 29th, which is Friday, the Switch is going to get their copy of their port of Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus, and also The Crew 2 is going to come out for PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Did you play Crew at all? The Crew at all?
I never did.
Okay. It was fun. I had a good time with it. I mean, racing games, they're kind of hit or miss for me. I was real into the Need for Speed series, but it was an interesting take on a time-old tradition of car racing games. I think it had two expansions too.
Wolfenstein?
No, the Crew, the original Crew.
Yeah, I know it was a really popular game.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what have you been playing this week?
I've been playing a whole bunch of stuff. I'm sorry, dude. I'm trying to fix this.
I know, man.
My entire brain is.
It's one of
I'm
those
like
things-
90% fix it and 10%. What is he saying?
It's okay. Don't worry too much about it. I've been playing some games. games this week. Mario Tennis Aces came out. I kind of got into that pretty heavily this week. I'm still not great at it, but plenty of room for improvement, which I'm excited for. If I was really good at this game for like right out of the gate, then I'd probably be a little bummed. But there's some good challenges. The courts have a lot of interesting aspects to them and gameplay designs that you kind of need to do. So I'm still stuck in like the intermediate section, but with the zone shots and everything going on, it's been cool. I've been still playing a boatload of Destiny 2, trying to get my character to 385. I think I'm sitting at like 365, 368, somewhere around that range right now. So tomorrow I'll probably stream on the channel again, try to get some daily, like the weeklies and stuff done.
Sweet.
Might try to raid and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
I know you had gifted me this game, and I tried playing it, and it's been super, super frustrating for me currently.
Yeah, I know.
It's a game called Elite Dangerous.
Hell yeah, it is.
It's a space sim.
Oh,
I know you've been streaming it.
I have.
Do you want to talk about this for a few minutes?
I could talk about this one for a few minutes. Yeah. So Elite Dangerous is a spaceflight simulator. Basically, it puts you in the cockpit of a spaceship, and it kind of gives you the galaxy to explore and do whatever you see fit with. Actually, I got my HOTAS right here. So you can fly as a smuggler, taking illicit goods from place to place. You can be a passenger transport, taking people on sightseeing adventures. You can be a bounty hunter, equip your ship with various weapons, upgrade your core internal modules, get a better frame shift drive to jump farther, get better shields on there, get better thrusters, a more higher powered energy core. All that cool stuff. You can go bounty hunting. If people like jump away, you can like find them mid-warp and interdict them and get those bounties. You can hang around fleet beacons and wait for people with a wanted status to come in and take those guys. If you're really getting into it, you can buy a kill warrant scanner and scan somebody and see if they have bounties in any other systems that you could turn them in. You could do exploration, so just fly off into the galaxy, put a fuel scoop on your ship, get fuel off of fusion stars, and just go and find new astrological bodies that nobody has found before, scan them, bring that information back to society, and get paid for it. One of the really cool things about Elite Dangerous is that its universe is actually the size of our universe. So there are 4 billion stars in Elite Dangerous that you can go to. And so one of the really sweet things is you can just kind of pick a direction and just go. There are 3 major factions in the game. There's the Federation, there's the Empire, and there's the Alliance. And then there are a whole bunch of independent factions outside of that. And as the players go and expand the universe by going to a star that no one has gone to before, the system will calculate that star, build that system as you're jumping into it, and then you can explore it, scan it, bring all that stuff back. And then as that happens and the universe kind of grows, those empires will expand into that space. And it's the kind of game where the story that takes place in the universe is entirely dictated by the players. So Frontier, the company that made it, will say, okay, this week or this month, a campaign is being made by the Duval sisters in the Empire, and they're pushing to take this X, Y, and Z system from the Alliance. And so the players will then come in and say, okay, well, we can go into those systems and we can fight back and forth, and whoever gets more kills or completes more objectives or produces more income for the economy, or whoever puts more influence really into that system, can prime that system for a takeover. And then if that works, a certain amount of time will go by where it's open for like an actual war to open up, and players can go in and fight that war. And whichever side wins, that side gets that faction. So the players influence, who goes where and how the empires grow and shrink and change and all that cool stuff. It's the coolest space game that isn't EVE Online, right?
Okay, so it's kind of like what No Man's Sky was attempting to do, but just never really accomplished. You think?
I really think No Man's Sky was trying to be a game about exploration and wonder. And I think that they did an okay job of that, but I don't think that they were going for the same thing that Elite Dangerous was. But I do think that if you play Elite Dangerous, you will get all the things that No Man's Sky tried to provide, and then so much more.
and then extra some more from that. Okay, I mean that's pretty. It's pretty awesome. Again, like I was just getting super frustrated with the controls. There's a lot of controls going on in that game.
There are a lot.
There's definitely a learning curve to it.
A lot of controls. Yeah, the community for Elite Dangerous calls it a learning cliff. Basically, like you walk, like there's not like a hill, a gentle climbing hill that you go up like most games where they'll teach you how to play it. You walk up and here's this cliff, and so you just start climbing, and it's a pain, and it hurts and it's hard, and then once you reach the top of the cliff, smooth sailing forever. There's just a lot of stuff to sort of absorb. When you land in a space station, you have to request docking once you get within 7.5 kilometers. They'll reject your request if you're outside of that. Then you have to fly into the space station, find your docking pad, align your ship properly at the right speed, dock on it, and then do whatever you need in the station from there. To initiate a frameshift jump, you need to be at the right speed, the right distance away from large bodies of mass, point yourself at your destination, throttle up, and then engage your frameshift drive. In order to scan a planet, you have to be within a certain amount of distance from it. In order to properly land on a planet, you need to come at it from the right angle, or else you're going to just slam into the atmosphere and take hull damage. There's a lot of stuff to know, and it's all stuff that would apply were this game real. So it's like half of it is learning mechanics, and the other half of it is thinking like you really live in space.
Okay.
So.
All right. And this game is still in beta, you said?
No,
right?
This is released.
Oh,
I played the game when it was in beta.
Okay, this is the full release then.
Yeah, this is a full release. Cool. Yeah, it's been out now for, I want to say about 2 years. The first year was just Elite Dangerous. They released up through patch 1.7. The second year has been Horizons, and that's where they introduced planetary landings, and now there are like aliens that are invading, and we're trying to fight them off and figure out what's going on with that. So it's been a fun experience. There's a new patch dropping on Thursday. They're introducing a new ship and some new mechanics and some new stuff that's going on with the Thargoids, which is the aliens that are popping up here and there. So it's a good time.
Yeah, cool. Well, speaking on patches and stuff, that's cool that there's some more content coming out, or another patch coming out on Thursday.
Yeah.
But a game series very close to my heart is getting an update this week as well. Ni no Kuni 2, which was a game I played for like almost a straight month. I think I put 120 hours into this game.
Yeah, you played that a lot.
Yeah, it's getting its update 1.03, and really the biggest complaint with this game has been it's not very difficult. The combat's not difficult at all. There's a lot of moving pieces in the battle sequences that kind of make it really easy for you to complete the challenges, and then also, if you complete, you can just straight up out level everything going on around you. So, it was really easy to just level up to a point where I'm one hitting everything that I'm in every encounter that I'm doing. Yeah. So what they're doing for update 1.03 is they're introducing a hard mode and an extreme mode where they're going to buff the attacks of the enemies and, debuff your attacks a little bit. I think in hard mode, they hit you 30% harder and you hit 15% less. And then I think in the extreme mode, it's somewhere between they hit about 40 to 50% harder and you hit probably about 30% less. So I had watched a gameplay trailer. There was a gameplay trailer available for it. If you're interested, you can find it on YouTube. And it's straight up just the same battle in each normal, hard, and extreme. So you can see how the numbers kind of relate to what the different modes are going to accomplish. Gotcha. So that update's going to drop this week, so that'll be super cool. I might give it another run through on hard mode. I think extreme mode's going to be a little too grindy, but I think hard mode is really going to be the sweet spot for that game. Also, in regards to content coming out, it's unfortunate, but the Friday the 13th online game, I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yeah, I've heard a bit, seen it.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool game. It's a pretty cool game. They ran into some problems, and there was a lawsuit that was dropped on them, trying to figure out who actually owns the rights to the content that was kind of for the game. Ended up that the developer won that lawsuit, but unfortunately through the process they've decided that they're just going to permanently axe any kind of new content coming out for it, and they're really just going to focus on making sure that they have the staff to kind of keep servers up and running for the time being while they start working on a new project. So no, unfortunately, like, you're gonna have the same areas that you were at forever. There was rumors about getting like a new map and different bad guys to run away from, but that's not going to happen now.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, long drawn out legal battles like that can be really expensive, and it kind of stinks because I know the company that made it isn't like, they're not small, but they're not huge, and that kind of thing can just be really taxing, especially if you're trying to fund a support team. So as opposed to supporting something that you've already made most of your money from, it's probably a better idea to focus on a new project. So
yeah,
it's unfortunate, but it's the way the cookie crumbled.
Yeah, and speaking of lawsuits, man, it's a good transition. Are you familiar with the show Westworld?
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen it, but I know of it. It's supposed to be like really good.
Yeah, it's kind of based on the idea of it's a giant MMO that you can go visit and use as to escape from reality. You can pretty much do whatever you want. There are NPCs and hosts and stuff like that all inside the game. Okay. And in the story, without going into crazy spoilers, the parts of the game start to become self-aware, and then shenanigans ensue. Yeah. It's a great show. Warner Brothers released a Westworld game that apparently is a blatant ripoff of Fallout Shelter. Mm-hmm. And Bethesda, being Bethesda and in a position to do this, is just straight up suing Warner Brothers. And I think the developer is Behavior Interactive over the Westworld game.
Yeah, I actually I know a little bit about this. It is Behavior Interactive, and the reason that Bethesda is suing them is not because the game is similar in concept. It's because they're using some of the exact same code that they used in Fallout Shelter. Yeah. It's the same company that developed Fallout Shelter, and they were able to prove this by showing that one of the bugs that was present in an early release of Fallout Shelter is the exact same bug that's present in the current release of the Westworld game. So they have some pretty solid evidence to support them on this. So I don't think they're being a jerk about this. I think they're defending their intellectual property rights on that one.
Yeah. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Behavior Interactive is actually the company that did they worked on Far Cry 3 and they worked on Dead by Daylight. So it's interesting to me that they would just straight up rip code from another developer. And
I think it's very easy to think of a company as an individual. I mean, there's without getting into too much politics, with companies being treated as individuals in the U.S., it's very easy as a consumer because we don't see the developers, we don't know the people behind the company, but it was a human being who made the decision to take this that they had and move it over here. And right. I don't know, maybe if it was a new developer, or maybe it was just a guy having a bad day, or he was being lazy, or just whatever it was. Somebody made a mistake, and that guy is super fired. But yeah, I don't think it's the developer's fault, like the company's at fault necessarily. They're the one who's going to take the brunt of it because of U.S. law, but I don't exactly hold it against them. So. Yeah.
That's fair.
Just one of those things. But, if I see it happen again, then I'll start to think twice about that company. But I mean, one bad thing going on isn't necessarily a big strike.
On a lighter note, internet memes. Do you remember like way back when when the idea of a meme first kind of existed?
Yes.
This is what we would consider a legacy meme because it's so old. But remember the dancing baby GIF?
Yeah.
Somebody figured out how to turn that GIF into a Quake sprite, and apparently it just was as simple as just swapping the file name.
Yeah, switch the texture. Yeah.
So they've done that, and that's now a thing. So you can play And you can play Quake with a bunch of dancing babies just all over the place.
As do
And,
modifying Quake is like a developer tradition. At some point in every like system level programmer's life, you'll modify Quake in some like tiny way, just because it's fun. Like either Quake or Doom, right? One of the originals, but oh, it's good stuff.
yeah.
Oh,
So, I mean,
so I guess. Go ahead.
You take one, and
sure. Yeah. So, you may have heard that I was recently playing Jurassic World Evolution, a park building simulator made by the same people who did Planet Coaster, but in the universe of Jurassic Park, set for Jurassic World. And I was all up and excited about this one, but it turned out it was like a super casual game, and it has pretty near no numbers in it. Like you can't separate power grids. There's no way to at a glance find out how much power is being used. You have to like go to a power station and click on it to figure it out. There are no stats on individual visitors to your park, so at no point am I able to find out what is making this person happy or sad. You only get like a general how happy are your visitors. And at some point I figured out that the way that you make your park work, if you have no amenities in your park at all, if you just build pens and put lots of dinosaurs in them, your park is doing great. And that's it. That's the only thing you need in your park. Just a bunch of dinosaurs in a pen that are happy. And that's it. And it's so easy to make dinosaurs happy. You just put enough trees, put enough water, put a feeder, and they're good. And that's it.
Okay.
So it turned out to just be a super easy game. But bunches of people have bought it, which is, I mean, it's good for Frontier, but I'll think twice about buying a management game from them again. And it's worth noting that Frontier is the same company that makes Elite Dangerous, so odd that they went for a park builder thing, but they do have two teams. Like one of them, they have one team for ED and one team for like other projects. So whatever, I don't know. I probably won't buy another management game from them, but I'm sure as hell gonna keep playing Elite Dangerous. Anyway, the point is that they just released an update for the game to the tune of like 1.2 or 1.4 gigs or something like that, which
that's a big update. Actually.
Yeah, it is pretty big. It added all the new dinosaurs from the new movie, Fallen Kingdom. So it's got like the Indoraptor, and it's got Allosaurus, and it's got Compies and all that stuff. And it also fixed a few bugs. Like, for example, if there was a helicopter flying around when you loaded the game, that helicopter would just fall to the ground and crash. They fixed that bug. And a few other miscellaneous things, none of which makes the game more management game friendly, but it's better than it was, so that's good.
Okay. A couple of days ago, I know you used to play this game. I played it a hell of a lot. The Overwatch League is been kicking up. The first 4 stages are done for this season, and they are going to do an all-star game in August. I think it's August 25th or August 26th. They've announced the teams, and it's separated in between the Atlantic Division and the Pacific Division. And the Atlantic Division is pretty much just the entire New York Excelsior team. They were incredible this season. Over the course of all 4 stages, you play a total of 40 games. That's 10 games per stage. There's 12 teams in the league. New York went 34-6. And that was way better than the second place team, Los Angeles, actually technically the Los Angeles Valiant, because there's actually two LA teams. The Valiant ended up going 27-13. So I think overall, there's 6 people on the team, obviously, and I think 4 members in the Atlantic Division are from the Excelsior. There is somebody from the Philadelphia Fusion and the London Spitfire on the Atlantic team. The Pacific team is way more diverse. Siegel made it, and that's pretty much the only name that I kind of recognize.
Okay.
That'll be fun to watch. I've been paying attention. There's been a whole bunch of updates and stuff, and they're going to do another big update apparently sometime soon. I think they're teasing another hero. Props to props to Overwatch for consistently every couple of months coming out with new content as well. They've been really really good about that.
Yeah,
So
Blizzard has been transitioning away from a gaming company into an esports company for a long time, and I really think that they finally actually made it. I no longer view Blizzard as a company that makes games; they make esports. I think the last vestige of actual game that they have is somewhere between World of Warcraft and Diablo 3. And outside of that, everything else they make is now a sport. StarCraft 2 is an esport. Overwatch is an esport. That's just...
Well, there's just a lot of money in it with advertising.
Oh, tons of money. Yeah, no, I'm not shooting them down. It's just it's interesting to me that a company that I once knew as a company that made games is now a company that makes sport games, which is, I mean, it's just interesting. It's an odd thing. It's a new thing that there's a company that specifically focuses on this, And we'll see more of it in the future, with different companies focusing on this as well. But it's just the first time that we're seeing this, and it's like, this is odd.
Yeah, I mean, it's Brave New World, and they're doing a great job with it. I know there was a lot of pushback at the start in order to start a team, you needed to put in an X amount of money for it, but it's starting to pay dividends for them. So, props to them. Other games that are really, really good about getting consistent updates would be Fortnite. I know you don't really like the Battle Royale game that much. I enjoy it quite a bit. I actually enjoy the lore on it a lot, and we're getting a lot of content updates that kind of explain a whole lot in the next couple of weeks. All of the Fortnite seasons, we're currently in season 4. All of the seasons are 10 weeks long. So using that knowledge, we kind of know that season 5 is going to be around sometime July 13th, give or take, depending on the developments and whatnot. The big thing for season 4 was the meteor, like what was going to happen. Was it going to destroy Tilted Towers? It ended up destroying Dusty Depot, and they rechanged a whole big section of the map to show that off. And week by week they've been doing little updates that kind of show things. Like they've been showing this logo on a television. One of the loading screens is this guy called the Stranger who's shown launching this giant rocket. The rocket is actually in the map. You can find it. It's buried underground in an underground bunker. Oh, cool. So the concept for everyone's wondering if season 5 is going to be what's going to happen with this rocket. Is it going to blow up part of the map? Is it going to be like, who is the stranger? The whole deal there. So we're gonna, we'll see what happens with that coming up. But one of the modes that they do, because Fortnite's been really good about introducing limited time modes. They've done 50 versus 50. They've done 20 versus 20 versus 20 versus 20 versus 20.
Which sounds like complete chaos.
Yeah, which has been absolutely, it's fun. They've done like heavy ammo only, like those kind of things. They're doing something really interesting here called the playground mode that's coming soon. One of the things is the loot system on like getting chests and stuff are kind of random. There's specific places where chests will be, but whether or not they're there is random. Yeah. That's like part of the RNG behind it.
Yeah, they'll have spawn points, but not necessarily spawn. Yeah.
Yeah. In playground mode, every spawn point will have a chest. So you can use this to figure out like, oh, I've never known that there are chests over in this area, or all sorts of different stuff. I know the building materials are going to be doubled, so you're going to get double mats, so you could build up and do all sorts of crazy stuff with that. I believe you're not going to take a lot of you're going to take half damage, I believe, in the storm. So they're going to encourage people to kind of branch out and try different things. I believe you can set up like private servers and stuff with this game mode and now too. So you can restrict it to 16 people. You can do whatever you want. They're really kind of opening up the mode a little bit than just the standard game round of Fortnite. So I'm excited to see what they do with that and all the stuff there revolving around that. But more on the lore stuff. They're building out the campaign mode in the PvE version of the game. I know the PvE per version isn't all that popular, but they're adding a new map. It's going to be in a desert climate. They're going to go into their new enemy types, a brand new story mode that kind of explains the history and the lore of like what happened and like what the storm actually is and why are we all fighting and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, this is probably the biggest lore content drop that Fortnite's had to date.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see kind of in the next couple of weeks where this all ends up leading out to.
Sure, and it's worth noting too that when Fortnite first came out, it was only the PvE mode. Like Battle Royale wasn't part of it. When they announced it, what was it, last year at E3? It was it was just the PvE mode, and I bought that. So I'm one of the like 7 people on Earth who actually paid for Fortnite. And so I own the PvE mode, and the thing about it is like it's not really that fun. Like it's zombie defense mostly. It's you build up a base, absolutely. You're expanding your zone of protection, and because like the storm is a thing, right? Like the storm is kind of taking over the world, and so humans are coming out of underground and they're trying to push back the storm and make the earth livable again, but like the storm has turned people into zombies, and so the zombies are coming to attack, and as you push back, like as you strengthen your shield and you're able to push back your barrier and take more of the planet back, you upset more zombies and they come in, and you have to like build defenses to help keep them out while you fortify that area and all this stuff, right? And it's this cool concept, and I imagine it'd be a ton of fun in co-op, but I've never been able to find anyone who's like, yeah, let's all totally do that together. And doing it alone is just not fun. So it's just one of those things that kind of didn't take off. So I'm interested that they're actually expanding the PvE mode because, in my understanding, really nobody plays it. I'd love to see if there are numbers behind that. I'd be interested to see if there are 100,000 or 200,000 people playing that game. So, we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last piece of news that I've got here, we won't go too in depth with it this week because we got other things that we want to talk about. Maybe next week we can kind of go into it a little bit more. I don't know if you heard about this, but last week the World Health Organization they proposed that gaming addiction is a legitimate health disorder. And it's part of the International Classification of Diseases. So because of this, in England, the National Health Service of England is set to open up its first internet addiction clinic, which is going to focus on the treatment and research of the gaming disorder. It's been, it's a super controversial thing that the World Health Organization did. The gaming industry's pushed back big on it.
Yeah,
I think this is something we can talk about in detail on both sides. Maybe we'll both take a point on this topic, and then maybe discuss it a little bit. I don't personally think that it's a disorder, but I could see how other people might think that it is. So yeah, there's a change coming, and so far England's been the first to adopt it, and we'll see what happens from there. And I guess that's all I'll say on the topic there. And sure. I think we should get into the big point of the show today.
Yeah.
The Summer Games Done Quick started yesterday. For those who don't know what SGDQ is, it is a speedrunning charity event that runs for about a week, and it's 24/7. So 24 hours a day, 7 days.
8 days. Sunday to Sunday.
Is it Sunday to Sunday?
8 days.
The best speedrunners in the world come together for charity for Doctors Without Borders, and they run their favorite games online, and people all over the world can watch and donate money and participate. They have some great goals and stuff for donations and whatnot. And I guess we should start with what is
first point.
Speedrunning.
Do you want to answer or shall I answer?
You can answer it. I think you do more speedrunning than I do. So
that's fair to say. We actually briefly talked about SGDQ in episode 3 of our podcast when they had first announced the schedule. So it's cool that we're getting a chance to come back to it and really delve into it. Speedrunning is the art of completing a game as quickly as possible. So from the moment that you push start to the moment that you beat the final boss, how much time does it take, and how quickly can you get it done? There's a lot that goes into it. There are many different categories that you can use. For example, the most common type of speedrun is in a category called any percent, which is just shorthand for as quick as you can get from start to finish, and no other rules. There are categories, for example, glitchless, where you're not allowed to use any exploits in the game. There are categories that are very specific to games. So, for example, if you are speedrunning Dark Souls, there's a category called all bosses. So it's very possible to go through Dark Souls and not have to kill all the bosses. There are a lot of optional bosses, but all bosses requires you to kill every single one of them. And that adjusts your routing for the game, which is your determined choice of, where do you go, how do you do it, what items do you need, what combinations of weapons can you use in the right way, all this stuff that goes into making it go as fast as possible. It can be very simple, or it can be very complex.
It might not be the most optimal run, but it'll be the most optimal run to accomplish set goals.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And so it's a really challenging thing to do. If you've never speedrun a game, I think you should give it a try. And I'm not saying that you need to dedicate, 10 hours a week and get this thing, set it all out. But pick a game that you really like, maybe one that's not very long. You don't need to go watch videos or try to, be professional about it. Just pick a game that you like and sit down every once in a while and just try to beat it. But beat it as fast as you can do it. And then the next time you come back to it, you might say, oh, what if I did this? And then you'll try it that way, and maybe it's faster, and maybe it's slower. And then you come back to it again later, and you're like, oh, what if I could do this instead? And then you do that instead. It's a cool way to sort of challenge yourself and find a way to improve on something that's really rewarding. It's not necessarily something that you're not really going to make a career out of speedrunning. It's not going to be a huge life-changing event, but it's fun to do, and it makes you feel good when you do something cool. So it's just something you should give a go, I think.
So why do they why are they doing, why is the games done quick a thing? Like, why is this event a thing?
Yeah. The question, focusing on how I said, it's not necessarily a life-changing event. Not necessarily true. When a lot of people come together, and this is not true just of speedrunning, but the speedrunning community has made a big point of doing this kind of thing. And in fact, many gaming organizations and large figures in gaming have focused very much on charity. To take the thing that they do, which would otherwise only be entertaining to them or only benefit them, and turn it into something that can help benefit others. And so Games Done Quick traditionally supports a charity called Doctors Without Borders, French name Médecins Sans Frontières, MSF. Doctors Without Borders is an organization that goes throughout the world, and in over 70 countries they provide humanitarian relief effort to anyone who needs it, at no cost to them. And this could be in all kinds of ways. It's not just doctors. There are architects, there are scientists, there are engineers, and of course there are doctors, to go into a community, find out what they need, and get people from that community to work with them and help them build out the things that can improve their lives. And so GDQ traditionally supports Doctors Without Borders. They have traditionally raised more than $2 million per event, which is really
insane.
Crazy.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a ton of money. And I believe last December, or was it December or November? There's an AGDQ for Awesome Games Done Quick, which takes place in I want to say like December-ish or January. No, January, I think.
It's the winter months.
Yeah, and then there's Summer Games Done Quick, which is happening at this very second. And you should totally check it out. Anyway, I believe the last GDQ they raised 2.4 million, I think was the number. It was crazy. Which is really cool that these people can get together and take this thing that they would do that would otherwise only ever benefit themselves, and really could even be viewed as just a way of entertaining yourself, might even be wasting time to do something like this. You know, without some cause to focus this effort into, what would be the point of having the world record in Super Mario Brothers? Like, great, you're the fastest person, you get some bragging rights, but overall, the only other people who care are the people who are trying to do that, right? Whereas with charities like this and with support like this, you know, it really goes a long way to just improving your community and communities elsewhere. So, really cool stuff.
Absolutely.
Now, I know that you have had a little bit of experience in speedrunning. Why don't you talk about that a little bit? Tell me what you ran, how long you ran it, what'd you do?
Well, actually, both of us have a little bit of experience with speedrunning. You've been a little bit more successful than I have, but I have given it a go on multiple platforms. I started, like you said, pick a game that might not take too long to beat. So I think the first game that I ever tried speedrunning was a game from the Nintendo called River City Ransom. And I think the world record is somewhere around 6.5 to 7 minutes, which means that like they've optimized this game to a point where you can beat it pretty consistently, like in around 10 minutes. So I was like, that sounds like a game that I could do. And it's a lot of holding right and a lot of just trying to go as fast as you can. And it was interesting because I really got to understand like the core physics of that game and what makes that, like what registers as a hit, what doesn't register as a hit. And then that taught me a lot about like looking beyond the idea of just like casually going into these situations. There's always a best way to do it. I think I got my runs down to about 9 minutes, 8.5 minutes, 9 minutes.
Dude.
So yeah, still nowhere close to the world record, but still pretty damn good. It didn't take me, when I played it as a kid, I may have spent like 2 or 3 hours trying to beat it. And now I can do it in about 8.5, 9 minutes. That's awesome. From there, I kind of took some time off from speedrunning. I was really interested in getting into Super Mario 3, but I just opted not to. And then I started watching these Legend of Zelda Link to the Past randomizer races on Twitch, where it's Legend of Zelda Link to the Past, but all of the items are just in a random location. You have to go find them. And I thought that was super, super, super interesting. Now, like Legend of Zelda Link to the Past is like one of my favorite games ever, but the idea of
for good reason.
Every time I play it, it's going to be different. And now how do I optimize my runs for that? So when I play that, I can beat this game in probably about 2 hours, 15 minutes, which is pretty good. I think the runners online are beating it in like an hour 40. So I'm not too far off from maybe competing in a race, but so I have my route and other that I like to run the game in, and everyone else has their routes. There's some strategies that are better, and I think it's a super interesting thing. I love the concept of the randomizer, and I know there's a bunch of other ones that have been coming out in the last couple of weeks. I know Ocarina of Time now has a randomizer. I don't think I'm going to get into that because the Water Temple is garbage, but. I do know Super Mario World does have a stream-friendly randomizer where people in your stream can, donate or send bits to do things to mess you up, like change your physics that all over the ground is ice physics, or even though you're on a level that's not underwater, you can donate bits and then have the physics think that like you're underwater. So when you jump, you have to swim and all that kind of stuff. So there's some really cool options there with that. I'm going to look more into it this week, and I might try to give that a couple of runs because Super Mario World is an incredible game.
Yeah.
I know you, on the other hand, we've talked about this before. You have set some world records in speedrunning.
That's true, yeah. So I didn't start speedrunning on the game that I set records on. I just kind of picked it. So when I first decided to start speedrunning, it was long after I had heard of it. So back in the day, before there was GDQ or anything else, there was a website called GameDemosArchive.com, and this website's still up. And that was where you would go and you would take videos of yourself playing a game and you would upload it to that website. And it was just a bunch of moderators whose job it was to just go in and, look at the video, make sure it was legit. And then if it was, faster or slower than whatever, they would, keep leaderboards on that website, and they would just go in and edit the HTML tables and put you in there with a link to your video, you know. And it was a cool place. And I originally discovered it by wanting to like know what games gameplay really looked like instead of having to just watch trailers. And this was, you know, before Twitch or anything else, you know, where you could just watch people play a game. So I wanted to be able to really see what a game looked like, and I just found this website, and I was like, this is so cool. So I mean, I remember watching, you know, some Link to the Past speedruns and the original Metroid speedruns and Super Mario Brothers runs, and like all those like classic games that I loved back then, and just, you know, getting to see those done really fast. And I was like, this is so cool. Like I went in thinking I was going to get an experience of like what the game is really like, but I went in and found something totally different, and it was awesome. And so for a long time, every now and then I would go and I would just like check out SDA and like look at some games, like, that's awesome. You know, like I remember watching Ninja Gaiden speedrun and some Mario speedruns and all this stuff. And then one day after, I think the second GDQ, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do this. So I went and I decided to start trying to find a game that I could play and I could run. And I didn't want to pick a game that I had played a ton. I wanted to pick something so that I could learn it, but I also wanted to pick something that I thought was interesting to me, something that was, you know, something that I liked. So I'm a big fan of Stargate, SG-1 and Atlantis, and to some extent Universe. And so if you've seen the original movie, you may know that there's a Super Nintendo version of the original Stargate. And so I picked up that game and I played through it. Like I went through and I beat it, and I was taking notes of like, oh, okay, you got to go here, and then you do this, and then you go, okay, and then I went through and I finished the game, and I was like, okay, let's give this a try. And so I went through it a couple of times, trying to make it faster here and there, remembering where things are, how do you get there faster, how do you kill this enemy, is it better to jump over, can I damage boost or anything else? And then at some point, I decided I didn't want to do that game anymore. I wanted to do something else. I decided this isn't the one that I like. You know, I'm not going to be able to stick with this. And so I started thinking about, like, what games have I played in the past that were on, you know, Super Nintendo, because that's just what I wanted to do at the time, that I really enjoyed, that wouldn't take me too long. That was another stipulation that I had. I didn't want to pick up a game that was going to be like a 3-4 hour run. There are some really cool games that have long runs like that are a lot of fun, and I didn't want to get in like that immediately, you know. So I picked up Indiana Jones' Greatest Adventures for the Super Nintendo. It's a 2D side-scrolling platformer, all about Indiana Jones, and it's just his adventures through the original trilogy. And as a casual game, it's super punishing. It's pretty hard. But I played through it, and I didn't really have too much trouble with it. And I was like, yeah, this is pretty cool. So I went and I started running it, and, you know, set up some times and splits for it, and I went online to see if anybody else was running it, and there was one other guy named Anthole who was running it, so I watched him do it, and I was like, oh, he's pretty similar to how I'm doing it. Oh, but he's doing X, Y, and Z that I'm not doing, but I'm doing 1, 2, 3 that he's not doing. And so I went and I utilized some of his stuff, and at some point I popped in there and said, hey, I'm doing this thing too, I haven't seen you before, da-da-da. And so he came to my stream and watched me do this a little bit, and so we ended up like trading strategies back and forth. Like there's a part where you let a bird run into your back and it boosts you forward a little bit so you can run through another enemy, and there's a part where there's like a hidden passageway that I found that he hadn't been using. There's a part where like you need to swing beneath some ledges that's faster that I didn't know about that he knew about. So we traded strats for a while, and over time, just running that game, I took the world record twice. I have it in 2 categories, in normal and easy mode on that game. So that's pretty cool.
That's awesome, man.
For the record, the fastest it's ever been done is 29 minutes and 10 seconds by me, which is pretty cool. And the terrible part about it is I did it in a race. I didn't expect it to happen. I think my time was like 30 minutes and 17, or like it was like 30 17 or 30 40 or something like that. Like some you know, I hadn't gotten underneath 30 minutes yet. It was one of those like, it's possible, but we haven't had a good enough run yet. And so one day Anthole and I decided to race, and we would race 2 categories. We'd race easy and normal, and So we raced normal first because that was the category that he was racing. And in my practice run for normal on the race, I actually beat his record and took world record on normal version. So I feel pretty bad about that. And then in the actual race, on easy mode, that's when I took, or that's when I improved my already existing world record for easy mode down to 29:10, which was pretty cool.
Very cool. Very cool.
And then after I did that, I decided, well, maybe I should move on to another game. I don't want to be stuck on this forever. So I picked up Indiana Jones and the Staff of Kings for PS2 and started running that. And to make a very long story short, somebody else had the record for that game, but they were just absolutely a jerk. I watched their VOD, and like the first thing they said is, okay, we're going to play this game that's an absolute piece of shit, and we're going to get the world record in it because nobody else has the record, and we're going to be super awesome. And I was like, all right,
challenge accepted.
Stop shitting on speedrunners. Like, don't do that. Like, it's hard to explain exactly what they said, but you will get, if you ever watch that VOD, you'll get the impression that they are just doing it because, look, we're terrible and we can have a world record. It was a very much shitting on speedrunners kind of video, and I wasn't real happy about it. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take your record and I'm gonna destroy it. So they beat the game in about 5 or 6 hours or something like that. I did it in 3. So I felt good.
Yeah.
And then I put it down. I could probably shave like a half hour off of that pretty easily if I actually put some more time into it. But it is like a 2.5, 3 hour run. So I didn't want to like. It's one of those games like if I'm gonna do that, it's my whole stream, So that's just what was going on. All right, I've babbled about this forever. Shall we move on?
Sure. With SGDQ going on right now, it started yesterday around 12:30.
Yeah.
Is there any runs that you're really excited to see, or maybe have seen already because it's been going on for about a day and a half at this point?
Yesterday they ran it's like a solid block of really good games. There was, oh man, it was. See if I can do it in order. There was. Okay, I can't do it in order. They had an Ocarina of Time 3D run. There was a Doom 2016 run. They did a Resident Evil 4 run. There was Ninja Gaiden Black that they ran. It was just like games that I love. They were just like back to back to back. I was like, I'm watching this. So I watched all that stuff. It was great.
Nice.
I woke up tired this morning, but it was worth it. It was worth it. Yeah. How about you? What are you looking forward to? What's there?
The stuff that I'm like really interested in, it's going to be later on this week. We're talking like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday kind of stuff here. I'm interested in watching the Mexican runner TMR run all flags regular for a game called Cuphead, which everyone knows has been super, super challenging. So that's going to be exciting. Cuphead is a game that I've been waiting for a long time. The animation's great. The music's fantastic. It's got the old school, like ragtime feel to it. If you haven't heard anything about it, but really, it's like Thursday night. They're doing the Super Mario block around 8:30. They're going to do Super Mario Brothers Warpless. That's going to be a race. They're doing the sexiest category of all time, Super Mario Brothers 3 All Forts, where you have to complete every level up to the fort before you can move on to the next level. So you can warp, but you can't warp past levels. You still have to do every level. Then after that, there's going to be Super Mario World, all castle and forts, and you can only do it as small Mario, so no power-ups. And then they're going to do a Mario Kart 8. Yeah, they're going to do a Mario Kart 8 Deluxe run, 32 tracks at 200cc. That's going to be a lot of fun. That's Thursday night.
That's going to be a long run too. That's going to be like 4 hours.
Yeah, no, it's a 4 hour. It's like a 4 or 5 hour block.
Yeah.
Friday they've got like. Friday's got some good stuff. I don't think it's anything really worth talking about. But Friday night, so there's two things going on Friday night late at night. There's are you familiar with TaskBot?
Yeah.
Yeah, TaskBot, which is a tool assisted program, tool assisted speedrun bot, where you can frame by frame go through the game and like optimize your runs, and then play it back to see how fast it's done. They're doing F-Zero GX, and that's going to take 10 minutes, roughly about 10 minutes, and they're going to do Super Metroid 0%. So it's 0% while running past audible invisible animals. That's probably going to take about 7 minutes. But after that, which is going to take this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. They did this in AGDQ, and this may be my favorite thing ever. 2 games, 1 controller. At AGDQ, they did 2 games, 1 controller. The runner played Punch Out and Super Punch Out at the same time using the inputs from 1 controller. It was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. The run took about 27 minutes, 28 minutes. They are scaling that up this run, this time. They are not doing Punch Out and Super Punch Out. They are doing Pokemon Yellow and Red at the same time. I don't know how
that's going to be
crazy. Just the level of RNG in the Pokemon games, just traversing the world map, makes me want to like kick babies. So,
well, like RNG in like Pokemon games are some of the most intensely speedrun games. Like there are huge communities running, especially the original trilogy of those things, and if you've ever sat around and watched a run or two and just like listened to people explain everything that's going on, the amount of RNG manipulation that's possible in those games is unbelievable. Like if you make sure that you bump into this wall, talk to this person, walk to this person, like don't talk to them, bump into them, turn around, get the map, come back out, walk into one piece of grass, like you can make sure that only level 5 Pidgeys will spawn in this. It's like it's crazy that they just like have all this knowledge in their head. Like I know a butt ton of things about like Super Nintendo Indiana Jones games, and I couldn't begin to scratch the surface of like comparative knowledge about what goes into a Pokemon game.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Then, the last block that I'm like super interested in is on Saturday. They're going to do another Undertale True Pacifist ending run. I'm pretty stoked about that. And then after that, they're immediately after that Undertale run, they're doing the 3 versus 3 blind level race for Super Mario Maker, which is like one of my favorite games ever. And it's got like literally the best streamers on Twitch doing this 3v3. It's got Carl Sagan 42, it's got Grand Pooh Bear, it's got Glitchcat 7, it's got Failstream, Jakku, and Cliffy. These guys are all incredible Twitch streamers for Super Mario Maker. There's some great level designers. I know Glitchcat is really in on like the actual ROM hacks and stuff now. Failstream is probably the premier Cape physics guy out there. Like so. If you want to see some great Mario players, like that's going to be absolutely insane. And none of them know what the levels are before going in. So I'm excited to see what that one is. And that's pretty much, they're going to do a Final Fantasy VI run to end it all out. And that's going to take like 7 hours. So
yeah, I think probably, like traditionally GDQ ends on a Final Fantasy stream. And it's always like, it always goes from like 1 or 2 a.m. until like 7 or 8 a.m. Like they always end it out. It's the thing that they do on the last night, and it's always really interesting. Like if you go back and you watch the VOD of it, they'll talk a bunch about how it all works and what they put together and how much RNG manipulation you can pull off. So
yeah,
it's cool.
But I mean that's the bulk of what I'm stoked for because there's just a lot. There's a lot going on this week. So there's something for everyone. You can check the schedule online. The website's gamesdonequick.com/schedule. I guarantee you're going to look on there and be like, oh, I forgot about this game, or, oh, it'd be really cool to watch this game get beat, so check it out, find something you want to watch, and just, maybe take a glance into the speedrun world a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I've got this. I have for several years now not missed a second of this marathon. At least in terms of like keeping it on a screen somewhere in my house. I've got it running on 2 screens this year. I've got one on this computer. I've got one in my work office. I keep it on mute and just let it play because putting more viewers on that stream gets ad revenue that is directly given to Doctors Up orders. I mean, it's absolutely sick. And sometimes you'll glance over and be like, "Oh, that was sick that they did that crazy move or whatever." But
yeah,
it's pretty awesome.
I mean, we've pretty had it's been a pretty full episode. I know there's more stuff that we could talk about. We can maybe hold on to that for another time.
I think so. Yeah.
But I think we need to start wrapping this thing up.
I think so. Did you bring the wrapping paper, or should I go get like some ribbons and bow ties?
If you bring the ribbons, I'll bring the paper.
Sounds good. Next time.
Great.
Well, thank you for listening. My name is Chris. On the internet, I am Average Goatee. You can find me streaming on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 6 to 9 on my channel, which is Average Goatee. Down there, that's Ian, also on the internet called Stunt Mustard, who will occasionally stream on Twitch when his job
expect me here.
gives him time.
Expect me here on this channel tomorrow, streaming Destiny. Also, feel free. Join us on the Instagram and the Twitters at 2Dudes1Up. Join our Discord channel. Come hang out. I'm always posting stuff on everything on stuff going on there. Usually stuff that we talk about in chat or in the stream. So yeah, just join us on there. Send us some info. Let us know what you want us to talk about. We're always looking for suggestions and what we can do better and what we're doing good. So just
and if we can, we will.
Oh, absolutely. So on that note, Chris, I hope you have a great week. I'm sure we'll play some games. As well. And everybody in the channel, thanks for hanging out, and I hope you have a good week of gaming.
All right. Catch you all on the flip side.